The storm hit the Montana mountains with a fury that Marcus Reed had rarely witnessed in his 15 years as a wilderness guide. Thunder cracked across the sky like the world itself was splitting open, and lightning illuminated the dense pine forest in violent flashes of white. Marcus stood on his cabin porch, watching the tempest rage across the valley below. When he saw it, a streak of blue fire tearing through the clouds, unlike any lightning he'd ever seen. The object crashed somewhere beyond the ridge, sending a shockwave through the trees that rattled his windows. Marcus's instincts kicked in immediately. Living alone in these mountains had taught him that unusual events often meant someone needed help. He grabbed his emergency pack, threw on his weatherproof jacket, and headed into the storm without hesitation. The rain pelted his face as he climbed the rocky trail, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. It took him nearly an hour to reach the crash site, and what he found there stole the breath from his lungs. A vessel of some kind lay embedded in the mud, its surface smooth and metallic with symbols he couldn't begin to understand. But it wasn't the craft that captured his attention. It was the woman lying motionless beside it. She was unlike anyone he'd ever seen. Her skin held a faint crystalline shimmer, reflecting the lightning in shades of pale blue. Her hair was long and silvery, plastered against her face by the rain. She wore clothing that seemed to shift colors in the light, torn and damaged from the crash. Blood surprisingly red-sipped from a wound on her shoulder. Marcus knelt beside her, checking for a pulse. Her heartbeat was there, rapid and irregular. "Hey, can you hear me?" he called over the thunder. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that swirled like liquid mercury. She tried to speak, but the words were nothing he recognized. Melodic, almost musical, but completely foreign. "Don't try to talk," Marcus said gently, though he had no idea if she could understand. "I'm going to get you somewhere safe." He carefully lifted her into his arms, surprised by how light she was, despite appearing to be a full-grown woman. She murmured something, and her hand weakly gripped his jacket before she lost consciousness again. The journey back to his cabin was treacherous. The storm seemed to intensify, as if angry that he was taking her away from the crash site. Branches whipped at his face, and the muddy path threatened to send them both tumbling down the mountainside. But Marcus had carried injured hikers before, and he moved with practiced efficiency, his powerful frame cutting through the elements. When he finally reached his cabin, he was soaked to the bone and exhausted. He laid her on his couch near the fireplace and quickly started a fire to warm the room. Then he grabbed his first aid kit and began assessing her injuries. The shoulder wound was deep but clean. As he worked to bandage it, he noticed her skin was warmer than human skin should be, and it seemed to shimmer more intensely near the wound, as if her body was actively trying to heal itself. She stirred as he finished wrapping the bandage. Those mercury eyes opened again, focusing on him with startling clarity. This time when she spoke, her voice was soft but urgent. Marcus shook his head helplessly. "I don't understand. But you're safe here, I promise." Something in his tone must have translated because her expression softened slightly. She reached up with her uninjured arm and touched his cheek, her fingers warm against his skin. Then she spoke a single word that sounded like Nira and pointed to herself. "Nira," Marcus repeated, understanding. "Your name is Nira," he pointed to himself. "Marcus." "Marcus," she echoed, her pronunciation perfect, despite having just heard it once. A small smile crossed her lips before exhaustion claimed her again, and she slipped into sleep. Marcus sat back in his chair, watching the mysterious woman Nira sleep by his fireplace as the storm continued to rage outside. His mind raced with questions. Where had she come from? Why had she crashed? And most importantly, what was he going to do now? He couldn't exactly call the authorities without raising questions he couldn't begin to answer. For now, he decided she needed rest and healing. Everything else could wait until morning. He threw another log on the fire and settled into the chair across from her, determined to keep watch through the night. Outside, the storm gradually began to subside. But Marcus knew that the real storm, the one that would change his life forever, was just beginning. The first rays of dawn filtered through the cabin windows, casting soft golden light across Nira's sleeping form. Marcus had dozed fitfully in his chair, waking every hour to check on her. Now, in the gentle morning light, he could see her more clearly. The crystalline quality of her skin caught the sunlight, refracting it in subtle patterns across her face and arms. She was beautiful in a way that seemed almost otherworldly, which he supposed made perfect sense. Nira's eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the unfamiliar surroundings. When her gaze found Marcus, there was a moment of panic before recognition set in. She tried to sit up, but winced at the pain in her shoulder. "Easy," Marcus said, standing to help her. He gestured to the bandage. "You were hurt. You need to rest." He spoke slowly, using hand gestures to accompany his words, hoping she might understand through context. To his surprise, Nira responded in English, though heavily accented and halting. "Think, you, save, Nira." Her face showed intense concentration as she formed the words. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "You learned English overnight?" She touched her temple with her good hand and spoke again, clearly struggling. "My people. We learn, fast. Listen, understand, speak." She paused, gathering her thoughts.
Neat.
More time. More words. Over the following days, Marcus watched in amazement as Nira's grasp of English improved exponentially. She absorbed everything like a sponge, pointing to objects and repeating their names until she had them memorized. By the third day, she could form complete sentences, though her accent remained musical and distinctly foreign. "My vessel is destroyed," she told him one evening as they sat by the fire. "I cannot return to my homeworld of Kellara. Not yet. Perhaps not ever." "Why not?" Marcus asked, handing her a cup of herbal tea. He'd discovered she could eat most earth foods. Though she found meat peculiar and preferred vegetables and grains, Nira's expression darkened. "I was running away. On my world, I was promised to a man I did not love, a political arrangement between powerful families. I refused and took a ship to flee, but they damaged it before I escaped. The storm here finished what they started." Marcus understood that kind of pain more than she knew. "I'm sorry. No one should be forced into something like that." "You speak as if you understand," Nira observed, her mercury eyes studying him intently. He was quiet for a moment, staring into the fire. "I was married once, Sarah. She was everything to me. But she got sick cancer and I lost her 5 years ago. I came out here to these mountains to escape the memories, to find some kind of peace." Nira reached across and placed her hand on his. Her touch sent an unexpected warmth through him. "We both carry grief. Perhaps that is why the universe brought me to you." As the weeks passed, a routine developed between them. Marcus taught Nira about Earth's customs, its wilderness, its beauty. She proved to be a quick study in everything. He showed her how to fish in the nearby stream, how to identify edible plants, and how to track animals through the forest. In return, she told him stories of Kellara, describing crystal cities that floated in the sky, twin suns that painted the horizon in shades of purple and gold, and people who valued art and knowledge above all else. "On my world, we believe every person has a soul color," Nira explained one afternoon as they hiked through a meadow filled with wildflowers. "It reflects who we truly are inside. Mine is silver blue, like the first light of dawn. It means I am a seeker, always searching for truth and understanding. And what color would I be?" Marcus asked, intrigued. She stopped walking and turned to face him, studying him with those remarkable eyes. Deep green, like the ancient forests. Strong, protective, grounded, a guardian's soul. Her hand came up to rest over his heart. "You have known pain, but it has not hardened you. That is rare," Marcus read. He felt his breath catch at her touch and the intensity of her gaze. Over the past weeks, he'd tried to ignore the growing attraction he felt toward her. It seemed wrong somehow she was stranded here, dependent on him for survival. But in moments like this, when she looked at him with such warmth and understanding, it was becoming harder to deny what he was feeling. Nira seemed to sense his internal struggle. She stepped closer, her hand still resting against his chest. "On my world, we do not hide our feelings. If there is connection, we honor it. Marcus, do you feel what I feel?" His heart hammered beneath her palm. "I do. But Nira, you've been through so much. I don't want you to think you owe me anything, because I helped you. A smile played at her lips. I know the difference between gratitude and something deeper. This, she pressed her hand more firmly against his chest. This is not obligation. This is recognition. Soul calling to soul. The space between them seemed to shrink. Marcus raised his hand to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her crystalline cheek. I haven't felt this way since Sarah. I didn't think I could again. Your wife would want you to live, to love again, Nira said softly. I can feel it in the way you speak of her. She loved you enough to want your happiness, even beyond her own life. The truth of those words broke something open in Marcus that had been locked away for years. He leaned down and kissed her, gentle at first, then deeper as she responded with equal passion. Her arms wrapped around his neck and his pulled her close, mindful of her still healing shoulder. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. Come with me, Marcus said, taking her hand. There's a place I want to show you. He led her higher into the mountains to a spot he'd discovered years ago, natural hot spring hidden among the rocks. With a view that stretched for miles across the valley, the water steamed in the cooling evening air, and the sky above was beginning to fill with stars. It's beautiful, Nira breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. I've never brought anyone else here, Marcus admitted. This was my private sanctuary. But I want to share it with you. They sat at the edge of the spring, their feet dangling in the warm water. Nira leaned her head against his shoulder, and Marcus wrapped his arm around her, feeling more content than he had in years. As darkness fell completely, the stars emerged in brilliant clarity, the same stars that connected his world to hers. The following week, Marcus suggested they spend a few days camping at a remote mountain lake he'd discovered years ago. It's the most beautiful spot I've ever found, he told Nira as they packed supplies. Completely untouched, surrounded by peaks with water so clear you can see straight to the bottom. Nira's eyes lit up with excitement. Since recovering from her injuries, she'd developed a deep love for Earth's wilderness. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, the feeling of grass beneath her feet, all of it was different from Calara's carefully cultivated crystal gardens. I would love that. How far is it? 2 days on foot, but we'll take our time. I want to show you everything along the way. The hike was glorious. Marcus pointed out wildlife, deer drinking from streams, eagles soaring overhead, even a bear in the distance that Nira watched with fascination rather than fear. On Calara, we have creatures that are similar but different. Our forests sing with bioluminescent birds that light up at night like flying stars. I'd like to see that someday, Marcus said, then paused, realizing what he'd implied. That he imagined a future that included her world, included her. Nira caught the hesitation and smiled. Perhaps you will. If I could find a way home, if my people would accept what I've done, I would want you to see it. They reached the lake by late afternoon of the second day. It was everything Marcus had promised, a pristine alpine body of water surrounded by towering peaks, their snowy summits reflecting in the mirror-like surface. They set up camp on a sandy beach, and as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they sat together watching the display. On Calara, we have 2 suns, Nira said softly. Their setting creates a different kind of beauty, purples and golds that blend together. But this single sun painting your sky, it's like poetry written in light. Marcus turned to look at her, struck by the way the fading sunlight caught in her silver hair and made her crystalline skin glow. You're the poetry, Nira. You walked out of the sky and into my life, and nothing has been the same since. She met his gaze, and something passed between them, a recognition that this moment was significant, that they stood at a threshold. Marcus Reed, guardian soul with the heart of ancient forests. Will you let me love you? Instead of answering with words, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her deeply. She responded with a passion that surprised them both, her hands sliding under his shirt to feel the warmth of his skin. They broke apart only long enough to stumble to the tent, their connection urgent and inevitable. Inside, with the sound of the lake lapping at the shore and the first stars emerging above, they explored each other with wonder and tenderness. Marcus traced the crystalline patterns on her skin, marveling at how they seemed to glow brighter with her arousal. Nira ran her hands over his body, learning his scars and the stories they told, kissing each one as if she could heal old wounds with her touch. Their lovemaking was slow and reverent at first, each discovering what brought pleasure to the other. Nira's skin grew warmer, almost hot to the touch, and shimmered with increasing intensity. "It's normal," she gasped, as Marcus paused in concern. "My people, we glow when we feel deeply." And indeed, the tent was filled with soft blue-white light emanating from her body, turning their coupling into something almost magical. Marcus had forgotten what it felt like to be so completely connected to another person, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. When they finally climaxed together, Nira cried out in her native language. Words that Marcus somehow understood meant my heart, my soul, my home. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest as he stroked her hair. "I love you," Marcus said simply. "I don't know how it happened so fast or what it means for the future, but I love you, Nira." She raised herself up to look at him, her mercury eyes bright with unshed tears. "And I love you." On my world, we have a saying: the soul knows in an instant what the mind takes a lifetime to understand. I knew, Marcus. From that first moment when you carried me through the storm, I knew you were meant to be mine. They made love again under the stars, and this time Nira showed him something extraordinary. As their passion built, her skin's glow intensified until the entire tent blazed with light. "Look up," she whispered breathlessly. Marcus did, and gasped. The light from her body was projecting through the tent's fabric, creating patterns in the night sky above them. Swirling colors that danced like the aurora borealis. "It's how my people celebrate love," Nira explained, moving against him with increasing urgency. "Our joy becomes light, becomes art, becomes a gift to the universe." As they reached their peak together, the light show above intensified into a spectacular display of blues, silvers, and whites that must have been visible for miles. They fell asleep in each other's arms, exhausted and deeply satisfied. Marcus woke once during the night to find Nira still glowing faintly in the darkness, a soft luminescence that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. He tightened his arms around her, feeling a fierce protectiveness and love that surprised him with its intensity. In the morning, they woke to find the tent walls glittering with frost despite the warm summer weather. "Did we do that?" Marcus asked, amazed. Nay laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "The energy from last night crystallized the moisture. It will melt soon, but yes, we literally made magic together." They spent the day swimming in the lake, the water cold and refreshing. Nira's alien physiology meant she could hold her breath far longer than Marcus. She dove deep, bringing up interesting rocks and shells to show him. They made love again on the sandy beach in broad daylight, not caring if anyone could see, though they were miles from any other human that evening. As they prepared to hike back to the cabin the next day, they sat by their campfire holding hands and watching the real aurora borealis appear in the northern sky, natural display to complement the artificial one they'd created the night before. "Whatever happens," Marcus said quietly, "whether you find a way home or stay here, whether your people come looking for you or leave you in peace, I want to face it together. I want you in my life, Nira, not just for now, but for always." Nira squeezed his hand, her eyes reflecting both the firelight and the dancing auroras above. "Then that is what we'll do. Together, whatever comes. We face it as one." They sealed that promise with a kiss as the lights danced overhead, neither of them knowing that the consequences of their love had already begun to take root in ways neither could have predicted. 3 weeks after their return from the mountain lake, Nira began to feel strange. At first, she attributed it to adjusting to Earth's environment, perhaps the different air pressure, or the single sun was affecting her physiology in unexpected ways. But as the symptoms persisted and intensified, she knew something more significant was happening. It started with fatigue. Nira, who had boundless energy and could hike for hours without tiring, found herself exhausted after simple tasks. Then came the nausea, especially in the mornings. Her appetite changed dramatically. She craved certain earth foods she'd previously found unappealing while being repulsed by favorites. Most tellingly, her skin's natural luminescence had increased. Glowing more brightly, even when she was calm, Marcus noticed the changes immediately. "You're not yourself," he said with concern one morning as she pushed away her breakfast, looking pale despite her crystalline complexion. "Should I try to find you a doctor? I know someone in town who's discreet." "No," Nira said quickly, then softened her tone. "No, Marcus. I don't think an earth doctor could help. This is something else. Give me a day to meditate, to listen to my body. My people have internal diagnostic abilities. I just need to focus." Spent that afternoon in the meadow behind the cabin, sitting cross-legged with her hands resting on her knees, her eyes closed in deep concentration. Marcus watched from the porch, trying not to worry but failing. What if her body was finally rejecting Earth's environment? What if she was dying, and there was nothing he could do to save her? When Nira finally opened her eyes, the expression on her face was one of shock, disbelief, and something that might have been joy. She walked back to the cabin slowly, as if in a daze. "What is it?" Marcus asked, meeting her at the door. "What did you find out?" Nira took both of his hands in hers, and he could feel them trembling. "Marcus, I'm pregnant. I'm carrying a child. Our child." For a moment, Marcus couldn't process the words. They seemed to hang in the air between them, impossible and yet somehow undeniable. But ... how? "I thought, you're from a different world, a different species. How is that even possible?" "I don't know," Nira admitted, tears beginning to stream down her face, leaving glowing trails on her cheeks. "It shouldn't be possible. Our biology is too different, and yet I can feel it. A new life growing inside me. Part me, part you. I don't understand the science, but I know it's true." Markeith pulled her into his arms, his own mind reeling. A child. He was going to be a father again. He'd given up on that dream when Sarah died. "Are you sure? Completely sure? My people know our bodies intimately. We can sense cellular changes, hormonal shifts. This is unmistakable." She pulled back to look at him, fear flickering in her mercury eyes. "Marcus, are you upset? I know we didn't plan this. Didn't think it was possible." "Upset?" Marcus let out a shaky laugh. "Nira, I'm terrified. I'm confused. But I'm happy. Incredibly, impossibly happy." He placed his hand gently on her stomach. "A child. Our child. It's a miracle." Over the following days, they tried to understand what had happened. Nira theorized that perhaps the intense, emotional, and energetic connection during their lovemaking, especially the night under the stars when she had glowed so brightly, had somehow bridged the biological gap between their species. On Kalara, we believe that love is not just an emotion but an actual force, a type of energy that can transform reality, she explained as they lay in bed one night. Strong enough love, the kind that transcends boundaries. Perhaps it can do the impossible. Perhaps it can create life where none should exist. Marcus ran his hand over her stomach, which hadn't yet begun to show any visible changes. "What will the baby be like?" "Human, Keller. Something in between?" "I don't know," Nira admitted. "This has never happened before, at least not in any records I know. Our child will be unique, the first of their kind. A bridge between our two worlds." As the pregnancy progressed, it became clear that this was unlike any human pregnancy. Nira's gestation period would be much shorter, about 6 Earth months rather than 9. Her body adapted in fascinating ways, her skin becoming even more luminescent, creating a constant soft glow around her. Sometimes when Marcus placed his hand on her growing belly, he could feel warmth and see flickers of light from within, as if the baby was already learning to shine like its mother. But with the joy came worry. "What if something goes wrong?" Marcus asked one evening as they prepared dinner together. "What if the baby has medical issues? What if childbirth is dangerous for you? I can't lose you, Nira. I can't." She set down the vegetables she'd been chopping and came to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. I'm strong, Marcus. My people are resilient. And our child. I can feel them. They're healthy, growing perfectly. Whatever this is, whatever force made this possible, it's sustaining us both. Still, Marcus worried. He'd lost Sarah to an illness he couldn't fight. The thought of losing Nira, of losing this unexpected family they were building, kept him awake at night. He began preparing obsessively, reading everything he could find about pregnancy and childbirth, converting one of the cabin's rooms into a nursery, gathering supplies in case something went wrong. Nira watched his preparations with both fondness and concern. Marcus, my love, you cannot control everything. You cannot prevent every possible danger. You must trust in me, in our child, in the same force that brought us together. I'm trying, he said, running his hands through his hair in frustration. I'm trying to trust. But I'm scared, Nira. I'm so damn scared. Ouch. She took his face in her hands, making him meet her eyes. Then be scared with me, not for me. Hold my hand through this. But don't try to carry all the fear alone. We are in this together, remember? Whatever comes, we face it together. That night, as they lay in bed with his hand on her stomach, they felt the baby move for the first time, a flutter of movement followed by a flash of light from within Nira's womb. They both gasped in wonder. Did you see that? Marcus whispered, amazed. Our daughter is saying hello, Nira murmured with a smile. Daughter? I know. She has a strong spirit, this one. And she will have her father's green soul, the guardian, the protector mixed with my silver-blue seeking heart. She will be extraordinary, Marcus Reed, the best of both of us. And something entirely new. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes as he held his hands steady on her stomach. Feeling another flutter, seeing another flash of light. I love you both so much, he said thickly. I promise I'll protect you, protect her, with everything I have. I know you will, Nira said softly. But remember, Marcus' protection doesn't always mean preventing every danger. Sometimes it means giving us the strength to face whatever comes together. As they drifted off to sleep that night, neither knew that the true challenges were only beginning, or that soon they would need every ounce of that strength Nira spoke of. It happened 2 months later, in the golden light of an autumn afternoon. Marcus was chopping wood behind the cabin when he felt a strange vibration in the air, a humming that seemed to resonate in his bones. He dropped the axe and ran around to the front of the cabin just in time to see 3 sleek silver vessels descending from the sky. Their approach silent, except for that deep, resonant hum. Nira, he shouted, bursting through the door. She was sitting by the fire, her hand on her very pregnant belly, and from the look on her face, she'd felt it too. My people, she said quietly, standing with some difficulty. They've found me. The ships landed in the clearing beyond the cabin, their surfaces smooth and seamless like liquid metal. Marcus grabbed his rifle from above the door, not pointing it at anyone but keeping it ready. Stay behind me, he said to Nira. She put her hand on his arm. Marcus, no. They're not here to hurt us. They're my family. Your family that tried to force you into a marriage you didn't want, he reminded her, his jaw tight. Perhaps, she acknowledged. But they're still my family. And they deserve to meet you, to know about their grandchild. A door opened in the side of one vessel, and 3 figures emerged. They all had the same crystalline skin as Nira, though in different hues. One was more golden, another more violet. The tallest, a woman with skin like burnished copper and eyes that swirled with amber light, stepped forward first. Nira Solon, the woman said in accented but perfect English. We have searched for you across half the galaxy. When your ship's distress beacon finally activated after the crash, we came as quickly as we could, Mother Nira said, and Marcus heard both love and apprehension in her voice. She stepped out from behind him, and her condition became immediately obvious. All 3 visitors froze. The copper-skinned woman's eyes went wide, her hand flying to her mouth. By the twin sons? Nira, you're carrying. I am, Nira confirmed, lifting her chin. And I'm keeping the child. Both of them. She reached back and took Marcus's hand, pulling him forward. Mother, father, brother, This is Marcus Reed. He saved my life. He protected me. He loved me. And he is the father of your grandchild." The golden-skinned Manera's father looked Marcus up and down with an expression that was difficult to read. "You're human. This should be impossible. Our species cannot interbreed. Apparently love finds a way," Marcus said evenly, keeping his voice steady despite his hammering heart. "I don't claim to understand the biology, but I know what I feel for your daughter. And I know that the child she carries is mine as much as hers." The violet-skinned man, who must be Nira's brother, circled them slowly. "The energy signature is remarkable. I can see it, the blending of two completely different biological systems. It shouldn't work, and yet—" He stopped in front of Marcus. "You must love her very much. The force required to bridge such a divide, it's unprecedented." "I love her more than my own life," Marcus said simply. Nira's mother approached slowly, her eyes never leaving her daughter's face. "When you ran, when you stole that ship and fled, ... We were furious, terrified. The man we'd chosen for you, Lord Kelvin, he was powerful, and his family influential. Your refusal shamed them, and by extension, shamed us." "I will not apologize for choosing my own path," Nira said firmly, though her hand tightened in Marcus's. "I'm not asking you to." Her mother surprised them by saying, "Because when you disappeared, when we thought we might have lost you forever, we realized that no political alliance, no family pride was worth your happiness. We realized we were wrong." Tears began streaming down Nira's face, leaving glowing trails. You're not angry?" Her father stepped forward, his expression softening. "We were, but we've had months to think, to search, to imagine losing you forever. Anger has given way to understanding. You deserve to choose your own mate, your own life. If this human has earned your love, then we will respect that." Marcus felt the tension draining from his shoulders. "I want to marry her," he said clearly. "By whatever customs you have, by whatever ceremony you require. I want to make this official, to give our daughter a stable family." "Daughter." Nira's brother perked up. "It's a girl?" Nira nodded, smiling through her tears. "Yes, we're having a daughter." The next few hours were a whirlwind. Nira's family inspected her carefully, using technology Marcus didn't understand to scan both her and the baby. They pronounced both healthy, though clearly fascinated by the unique energy patterns they were detecting. "The child is truly a hybrid," Nira's mother marveled, looking at a device that projected three-dimensional images in the air. "Look, Keller cellular structure in the nervous system, human DNA in the muscle tissue, and here in the heart, ... both, perfectly blended. It's beautiful." Over dinner, which Nira's family provided from their ship, a fascinating meal that somehow combined Earth and Keller ingredients, they talked about the future. Nira's family wanted her to return to Calera for the birth, to be surrounded by medical technology that could handle any complications. "I understand your concern," Marcus said carefully, "but I'm not leaving Nira. If she goes to your world, I go with her." "I'll be unprecedented," Nira's father said slowly. "Humans have never visited Kalara. Our atmosphere is different, our sun's radiation more intense. You would need enhancements, medical treatments to survive." "Then give them to me," Marcus said without hesitation. "I told you I am not leaving her side." Nira squeezed his hand under the table, her eyes shining with love and gratitude. They reached a compromise. Nira's family would stay on Earth in their ships nearby, providing medical support. When the time came for the birth, they would use their technology to ensure both mother and child survived. And afterward, they would decide together whether to stay on Earth or travel to Calera. "There is one more thing," Nira's mother said as the evening drew to a close. "On our world, when a child is conceived, the parents undergo a bonding ceremony, spiritual and energetic joining that links their souls for life. It is how we formalize partnerships. Would you be willing, Marcus Reed, to undergo such a ceremony with my daughter?" Marcus looked at Nira, seeing hope and love shining in her mercury eyes. "I would be honored." The ceremony took place the following day at sunset, in the meadow where Nira had first realized she was pregnant. Her family had prepared everything: a circle of crystalline stones that glowed with internal light, flowers from Calera that bloomed in impossible colors, and traditional garments for both of them to wear. Marcus stood in the circle in clothing that seemed to be woven from light itself, watching as Nira approached in a gown that flowed like liquid silver. She was radiant, her pregnant belly prominent, her skin glowing with happiness.